Okay, thanks for joining us. For those that have joined us online, welcome. You will be able to see on the screen shortly details of how to ask questions or make comments. Comments or questions will only be visible to the host, and we will look to address these towards the end of the session. If you're joining us by phone, welcome. You can also make comments or ask questions by emailing webinar@foryoubyou.org.uk. These will be monitored throughout the broadcast, and we'll share them with Mark towards the end of the session. For those joining by phone, you can get copies of the slides and any handouts via our website, worldwideweb4youbyou.org.uk, under Digital Tools, Help and Advice Webinars. A recording of today's webinar will be available later if you wish to listen again or share with colleagues. Before we start, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about the charity, in case you haven't worked with us before or come across us before. The Charity for Civil Servants vision is of a lifelong community of people offering effective support for each other when life takes a turn for the worse. We offer a range of services and supports which include money advice, support for wellbeing and mental health, financial support for those who are eligible, and support for carers. We do this online via our digital tools, and we also have a team of caseworkers who can provide one-to-one support and advice throughout the regions. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Mark. Thank you, Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark from the National Trading Standards Scams team. Thank you for attending the Scams Awareness webinar. In today's presentation, we will cover who the National Trading Standards Scams team are and what we do in relation to scams, what the Friends Against Scams initiative is, the details of the different types of scams and what to look out for, why people can and do become victims, and the different methods criminals use to scam victims. So, the National Trading Standards Scams team works across the UK, engaging with trading standards officers and local authorities and partner organisations such as NatWest, Age UK, Neighbourhood Watch and more to identify and support victims and investigate scams. Once realising the scale of the problem, the NTS Scams team developed FAS, Friends Against Scams, or FAS, in order to engage with as many people as possible. Friends Against Scams is a National Trading Standards Scams team initiative. This aims to protect and prevent people from becoming victims of scams by empowering communities to take a stand against scams. Friends Against Scams is designed to inspire actions, highlight the scale of the problem, change perceptions of why people fall victim to a scam, and make scams a community, regional, and national topic. So there are 4 tiers to Friends Against Scams. The first tier is friends. These are people like yourselves who have either joined a session online or attended one face-to-face, taken the knowledge they've learned and shared it with their friends or families. We've so far recruited 280,000 Friends Against Scams. The second tier are scam champions, and those are people like myself who have done further training to get the skills needed to present sessions like this. So far, we have 1,540 scam champions. Third tier is scam ambassadors. These are members of parliament, senior officials, or someone who can use their influence or celebrity status to raise the profile of scams. We have over 200 scam ambassadors, including Sir Vince Cable and Angela Rippon of Rip Off Britain. The fourth tier are Friends Against Scams organisations. These are organisations who have pledged to encourage staff or their customers to undertake the Friends Against Scams training or to hold events that raise scams awareness. We have recruited over 200 organisations so far. So, why is learning about scams important? We will now watch a short 5-minute video that will answer this question. Please pay close attention as we will recap the key points after the video. If this doesn't work, this will be on the website afterwards. Thank you for watching that short video. Let's recap 5 key points covered in that. 53% of people aged 65 and over have been targeted by scams. Scams cost the UK economy between £5 and £10 billion each year. Anyone can be a scam victim, regardless of age, gender, education, or economic background. Scam victims may not always admit or realise they are a victim, and only 5% report the crime. Scams are the product of organised predatory criminals who gain trust to exploit and steal money. The examples you saw in that video are just the tip of the iceberg. Friends Against Scams covers 4 main types of scams. We deal mostly with postal scams. These include lottery or prize draw scams. These claim that the victims have won large sums of money on fictitious lottery or prize draws. Clairvoyant scams, which offer the predictions of future and predictions of the future and request payment for further info. Inheritance scams, which you may have received yourself. A letter comes in the post from an overseas lawyer or a bank official claiming that the will of a recently deceased relative has money that's due to the person. Telephone scams, which include vishing. This is when a phone call is used in an attempt to steal personal information. SMSing occurs when text messages are used in an attempt to scam the victim into divulging their personal info. Computer. So this is when you may receive a telephone call that says there's a problem with your computer or laptop and help is offered to fix the issue in exchange for money or access to your device. We cover doorstep scams. These are doorstep callers, criminals who pose as legitimate business people, selling goods or services that are faulty, unnecessary, overpriced, poor quality, or entirely non-existent. Or bogus callers, criminals posing as legitimate business people in an attempt to enter the victim's home and commit theft by distracting the victim. These people may also work with other people, so while they are at the door speaking to them, someone else is coming in through the back. And lastly, online scams. So things like phishing. So you get an email from the bank designed to trick you into revealing your personal information and your password. Farming, which is the fraudulent practice of directing online users to a fake website which looks exactly like the real one. Or romance scams, a confidence scam whereby a criminal displays fake romantic intentions towards a victim in order to gain their affection and trust to extort money. If you could take a look at the example scam mail attachment, and on the first page there is the letter you can see on your screen. And I want you to consider the question, would you respond to this piece of mail? We'll run through some of the warning signs All scam mail will include some or all of these. They will be written addressed to they'll use your first name to make it personal. The letter is written in a way that puts you under pressure to respond. A post office box is used instead of the full postal address. The offers are always too good to be true. The letter may be dazzling. They will request money before you get the prize. They are made to look authentic with director's signature, name. They may also include stamps to give the impression that it's official. They will include fake testimonials or money-back guarantees to make the offer seem genuine. And the victim will often be told to keep their winnings a secret. So, the second page of that attachment is an example scam email. If you could take a look at that attachment and consider the same question, would you respond to this? We'll run through some warning signs. So, there's an inconsistent email address. The letter says it's from Mrs. E, but it's also at hmrc.refund@interlight.info. They may contain incorrect URL or website links, poor spelling and grammar, urgent offers and pressure to respond. They'll often include an attachment which they'll encourage you to try and open. The emails will often overuse capitals. They won't have either not have an email signature or one with inadequate information. The subject and content do not match. They are generally not vague or non-existent subjects. They are generally not addressed to anyone in specific, and they will often request personal or financial information. How to spot a victim. There is no catch-all method for identifying someone that is engaging with scams. However, there are signs you can look out for. So, for postal scams, someone may make regular trips to the post office or the bank. They may have lots of scam mail in their home, including lots of posts from companies abroad. They may buy a large amount of stamps, use an unusual amount of checkbooks, have lots of beauty or food products around the home, or have free gifts or lucky objects sent from the criminals, such as pendants, badges, etc., and items that are supposedly for protection. Some of the signs someone may be engaging in telephone calls are that they are receiving a high volume of phone calls in a day, making regular payments over the phone, receiving suspicious SMS text messages, feeling that the people calling them are friends, as the criminals are generally the only people they have regular contact with. They may speak about a helpful caller who has helped them resolve an issue, i.e. fix their computer or sort out a banking problem. And they may speak of fantastic investment opportunities they've been given or become involved in. For a potential doorstep scam victim, they may have had work completed on their property or garden which is of poor quality or takes a long time to complete. They may agree to further unnecessary works at the property, fearful of opening the door or going out. They may feel under pressure from those carrying out the work, and they will often make large cash withdrawals to pay for the work rather than using a secure payment method. Lastly, some of the signs of online scam victims are that they may have received a suspicious or unexpected email asking them for personal details or banking information, to click on a link or to open an attachment. They may speak of unexpected final demands or refunds from a UK official, such as the HMRC or the local council. They may talk of a new online relationship where they've only had contact by telephone, email, or on the internet, and the person is usually in need of money. They may discover unexpected payments have been made from their account. Often, a common theme is that a person will be experiencing financial hardship as a result of these scams, or they may be neglecting themselves as all their money is going to scammers. Anyone can be a scam victim, regardless of age, gender, education, or economic background. Different scams target different sections of the population, which is why there is a scam for everyone. However, there are certain groups that are more likely to be victimized and targeted by criminals. The average age of a scam victim is roughly 75 years old, showing that criminals tend to prey on older and often more vulnerable members of society. There are many reasons someone may respond to scams in the first place. They may have a physical or mental health issue. they may have dementia or display signs of cognitive behavioral decline. They may be experiencing a long or short-term vulnerable circumstance, i.e. bereavement or a period of financial hardship. Sometimes they may lose their entire life savings, remortgage their homes, or take out credit cards or loans. They may be socially isolated. Maybe their friends and family live far away, or because they are living with a physical or mental health issue, they can't get out of the house. They might be lonely. They may feel like they be under pressure to make a decision. They may be looking for a sense of purpose. Often they are targeted by criminals as they are viewed as an easy target and highly likely to respond again and again. Or they may have unkept homes or gardens and are therefore targeted by criminals who can convince them that the work is required. Often they'll trust easily and they'll want to believe the best in people. Now, I would like to talk about these 4 true stories. These are all people who have fallen victim to a scam. So, when I was on my way to interview this job I have now with the NTS Scams team, I was nervously scrolling down Facebook and I saw a video of a girl I knew who was a couple of years below me in school, and she had posted a video of herself crying. She'd received a phone call from her bank and they'd told her there was a problem with her account. When she received this call, she was sitting on her bed, packing for holiday, was already quite stressed, and the person on the phone put her under a lot of pressure, told her she had to transfer all the money out of her bank account immediately. In that moment, she listened to what he said, transferred all her money out, and she said as soon as she hung up the phone, she knew that wasn't a man from the bank, and she'd just given all her money away to a stranger over the phone. The second story I want to talk about is Mr. T. He lost his whole life savings to the promise of an £18.7 million prize. When Mr. T started engaging in the lottery scam, he had just lost his wife. He was feeling quite lonely and appreciated the contact he had. After they had completely depleted his life savings and he was in a position where he may lose his home, he started approaching other elderly people who trusted him for money, started approaching them, asking them to get involved in the lottery scam. The third story I want to talk about is Mrs. B. This was a 42-year-old finance director who, after meeting someone online who she fell in love with, she stole £600,000 from her employer and transferred it all to this guy she'd never met online. Finally, the last story I want to talk about is Mr. C. Mr. C worked in a senior position all his life and was a community counsellor and would often help people in his community who were dealing with their own scam issues. As his cognitive abilities began to decline, he began engaging with some scam mail he had actually taken from someone he had helped. And his family didn't know what to look out for. They didn't, as someone who had been helping scam victims, they didn't know they had to keep an eye on him. And he would sit in his office filling out these scam mails, and he came to buy his granddaughter a car and realized he'd lost his £90,000 he had saved up during his life. His £2,000 a month pension pot had also been depleted. When Trading Standards caught up with him, he had sadly just passed away, and we managed to speak to his daughter. She told us they didn't know his cognitive health had been declining. He seemed like he was all there still. However, obviously, he had been engaging in scams. The reason I wanted to talk to you about these 4 case studies is that none of these people were stereotypically vulnerable. However, at the time they were targeted, they were all going through a vulnerable time. And this is why I believe a lot of people fall for scams. Often people will not be aware that they are in need of protecting themselves as they do not consider themselves vulnerable. So, the consequences for falling for a scam. Someone may attempt or succeed in taking their own lives after becoming a victim. They may be left with detrimental mental, physical, and emotional health issues. They or their family could be left with debts. They may have damaged relationships, especially if the family or friends try and fail to intervene. They may be repeatedly victimized, hounded on the phone or by post or by email by criminals. Studies show that those defrauded in their own home are 2.5 times more likely to pass away or to go into care than their non-defrauded neighbors. Scams are the product of organized predatory criminals who gain trust to exploit and steal money. The criminal may use befriending and grooming techniques. Befriending. They may appear legitimate, helpful, friendly, and charming as they try to use friendship to manipulate you for their own interest. They may use grooming techniques in which they are persuasive, persistent, threatening, aggressive, and intimidating. They use fear in order to coerce you into parting with your money or your information. Top tips. What can you do to protect yourself and others? One of the partners we work with is Take 5, who developed these 5 tips to help protect yourself and or others. 1. Never disclose security details such as your PIN or full banking password. 2. Don't assume an email, text, or phone call is genuine. 3. Don't be rushed. A genuine organization won't mind waiting. 4. Listen to your instincts. You know if something doesn't feel right. 5. Stay in control. Don't panic and make a decision you'll regret. In addition to those 5 points, there are some further ways you can protect yourself and others. Talk. Speak about your own experiences or encourage someone to open up about theirs. Have that conversation about scams. Break the taboo. Report. If you or someone you know has been potentially scammed, report it to Action Fraud, who are the National Fraud Reporting Service. Or if you need advice, call the Citizens Advice Consumer Helpline. The numbers for these will be on an upcoming slide. If you or someone you know's bank account has been potentially compromised, contact them to cancel any direct debits that may be going out or to close the account entirely if that's necessary. And lastly, seek further help. There are various befriending schemes run by charities such as Age UK. Royal Mail have a mail preference service where you can opt out of receiving certain types of mail, and there's a telephone preference service run by the telecom providers where you can opt out of receiving those nuisance phone calls. There are more details about this as well on an upcoming slide. So, call blocking. If you are someone who receives a lot of nuisance phone calls, sometimes you might answer the phone, it's just a dead line. Sometimes it will be someone telling you there's an issue with your computer or claiming they're from HMRC and there's an arrest warrant out for you. The best way to protect yourself from scam calls is to install a call blocker. Call blockers stop calls from reaching your phone. They can be set up to block certain types of numbers, such as international numbers or withheld numbers, or specific numbers that you program into the blocker. Initially, call blockers were a separate unit that plugged into your phone, but now many telephone handsets come with built-in call blocking technology. Most telephone service providers now offer call blocking services alongside telephone line providing. A scheme we run at National Trading Standards is the Scam Marshal scheme. A scam marshal is any UK resident who has been targeted by a scam and wants to fight back and take a stand against scams. Scam marshals do this by using their own experience to talk to others about scams in their community, or by sending any scam mail that they receive to the NTS Scams team so that it can be utilised as evidence in future investigative and enforcement work. The work played by scam marshals plays a huge role in helping to stop scam mail altogether. When I first started on the team, a lot of my work was on the Scam Marshal project. I would process between 1,000 and 1,500 pieces of scam mail each month that had been sent to us by our marshals. I've seen these be instrumental in bringing down multi-million-pound organised crime rings that are involved in postal scams. This is one of my favourite projects that we run, as it returns power to the victim after they have felt powerless at the hands of criminals. It lets them play an active and vital part in our own investigative efforts. This lets them turn their negative experience into a positive one for other people. You can find out more about Scam Marshals on our website. So here are the reporting numbers. There's Action Fraud there, and you can also report to them online. If you need advice regarding scams, if you're not sure if you've been a victim of a scam or someone has attempted to scam you and you want to talk about it, you can always call the consumer helpline. If you are concerned about someone's well-being, please refer them to your local adult social care department. If you believe someone's in immediate danger, please call the police on 999 or 101 if it's not an emergency situation. Congratulations, you are now a friend against scams. What's next? Make a pledge and turn your knowledge into action. Some example pledges to get you thinking about what you can do. Tell 5 people about scams and the Friends Against Scams initiative. Encourage someone you know to visit the Friends Against Scams website. Share your Friends Against Scams status on social media. Look out for people in your community who are at risk of being a scam victim. Actively support your local fight against scams by setting up or taking part in a scams awareness activity or event in your local area. Campaign for change by writing to your local MP, asking them to raise awareness on your behalf. What will be your pledge? Thank you for joining us today. You can visit us online for all the latest news and information about Friends Against Scams.
Thank you, Mark. We're just checking, we see if we've got any questions that have come up.
Yeah, so hi guys, my name's Kevin and I've been monitoring the inbox here while we've been doing our webinar session, so thank you, Mark. Just to remind people, we've got a couple of questions just to quickly talk about, but if there's any comments or questions you want to add, you can do that if you're online on your console by clicking the questions button and entering in your thoughts there, or if you're on the phone, you can email us now at webinar@foryoubyou.org.uk. So the first thing really is a comment really about if someone isn't all that confident in using a computer, that could potentially make them more vulnerable to scams. So if they're not really sure how to kind of interrogate those emails, that kind of thing. And the question was really about whether there's advice or resources that we can suggest where people can go to get more confident, really, to learn a bit more about how they can protect themselves.
Yes, so Get Safe Online is one of our partner organizations who have a website which hosts many courses on how you can get more up to date with technology and the ways you can protect yourself online. We'll put a link to that in the resources afterwards. Also, you can join your local library. Generally, they will have a computer buddy session where someone will sit down with you and they can help you look at your emails, show you the things to watch out for. And generally, it's always good to run these things past someone. Don't respond to an email or a phone call immediately if you're not 100% sure it's genuine. Ask a friend or family, or you can always call the Citizens Advice Consumer Helpline for advice on specific emails or telephone calls.
Brilliant, thanks. One of the things that prompted us really to reach out to you guys, Mark, and Trading Standards about scams was that the charity ran some focus groups towards the end of last year, largely with the retired community who are also eligible for the charity support. And one of the things that kept coming up was concern around scams and and actually the realization that so much now is being offered online, including the services that the charity provides as well. You know, a lot of our routes to apply are online, although we do obviously have our helpline as well. And I think what concerned us was that actually a lot of people feel excluded by the kind of the online world because of the fear of scams. I just wonder if that was something that you guys see and have kind of heard of before.
Yes, certainly. So especially with our Scam Marshal project, we have a lot of communication with our Scam Marshals, and many say they've wanted to get more involved with technology, however, are terrified because of the things that they hear, you know, whether it be social media scams or phishing. They don't know how to check or where to check if something's genuine. There is a lot of different information and a lot of different scams out there. People should definitely go to Get Safe Online, have a look, but I know that's also through the internet, which can be quite intimidating. I would seek out local groups, definitely one-to-one community things to ease fears about it, but also if you are scared, if you are worried, you don't have to engage with, you know, the internet as such.
No, absolutely, and I think that's something that we keep trying to remind ourselves, isn't it, Jane, with the charity, that digital is important and there's a lot of it out there, but some people are genuinely scared, aren't they?
They're genuinely scared, and with good reason. I suppose the main thing is to, if you're not just to avoid putting any of your real personal banking details on, I think it's the main thing that people are scared of. Mark, do you know how sympathetic are the banks if you have been scammed? Does it just depend on the type of scam and what information you've given over, or are they always, it's your fault, you should have realised, or are some banks more sympathetic than others?
No, they are certainly sympathetic to each case. If you've genuinely been deceived, a bank will always try and refund money to you. I know this doesn't happen in every case, but they are there's the new automated push payment system that's come out, where you will be, before making a transfer, you will get a little notification in your online banking, asking you to be aware.
Yeah.
This was to help deter. There's also the banking protocol. So when you go into a bank with someone, if the bank official is concerned that you may be under duress for transferring money, they will call the police, and the police will come to the branch immediately as an emergency call and investigate what's going on. It might be completely innocent, it might not be, but they will do that to make sure you are covered. The banks have been very helpful working with us. One of our main partner organisations are NatWest, who deliver these types of scams awareness sessions for us all the time, and they will always try and return money where they can.
Yeah, that's certainly good to know, especially as you said, the average age of the person being scammed is over 75, which clearly anybody either in that age group or who has elderly parents certainly highlights the need to keep an eye on parents or any other vulnerable adults, really, because clearly it's a huge problem, and if that's the group that are being targeted, it's more of a reason to make sure that they're not being drawn into scams. Do we have any other questions?
No, I mean, the other thing I was going to say was that we were talking, when we between us before the webinar began, about kind of our own experiences of scams and other things that we'd heard about. And Mark, you said something which is stuck in my mind, and that was about the speed at which these scams can appear and change. And you mentioned particularly that there's been a lot in the news around the Thomas Cook situation, and suddenly scams around that appearing incredibly quickly. And that's quite difficult particularly if you're distressed. There's been a lot of people distressed, obviously, for losing their jobs, but also people who've potentially lost money from holidays, and then you get a text saying, enter your bank details and we'll give you a refund, apparently from Thomas Cook. So that's, I guess that's stuck in my mind, of how quickly those things can appear. So be suspicious, I suppose.
Yeah, certainly. Criminals are out there looking for every opportunity they can. With the Thomas Cook thing as a perfect example, less than 5 minutes after the announce of the collapse, people were reporting that they had phone calls, and all they have to do is identify that you are they don't even have to identify you're a Thomas Cook customer. They just have to know you've gone on holiday and take the chance, because they can make 100 phone calls, 1,000 phone calls, 10,000. They just have to hit once. You've just got to be vigilant all the time.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty, I suppose, isn't it? And I shared a personal experience which was before kind of the internet was so widespread, and that was where someone had come to my door talking about double glazing, and I was in a hurry and wanted to get rid of them, and would say anything pretty much to get rid of them. I think we can all relate to that at times. And it wasn't until 15 minutes later that I realised that I'd essentially told them when my house was unoccupied, and then went into a complete panic. And what I did at that point was I'd remembered the name of the company, and I phoned the company to verify whether they had people on the doorstep in the area. And I guess that was the right thing to do. Are there other things nowadays that you might suggest that you might do if you were concerned, even after the event, that you'd done something?
Certainly calling the company in question, so you remembered the name of the company, the person that was at your doorstep, calling them and confirming. Make sure you've got the genuine number as well. Don't call the number they've given you. Go online, check for yourself.
That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, they might give you a card with a number on it, but it's not necessarily the one. You can also look into, if you always call the Citizens Advice Consumer Helpline, ask them, are they aware of this scam? Are they aware of something going on in your area? You'll be able to find more information. And generally, if someone's been in your area or attempted something, there'll be more reports of it. You'll be able to find out.
Okay, well, that's all from our questions. So I'll hand back to Jane just to wrap up on the session.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. That was a really interesting session. I hope everybody found it informative. If you want to find out more about how we can help and ways to get involved, you can look at our website, which is worldwideweb4ubyyou.org.uk. We also have a helpline, which is 0800 056 2424, and you can keep in touch with us via Facebook, For You By You, Twitter, it's at For You By You. Also, we've got a YouTube channel, which is For You By You Charity, and Instagram, which is For You By You Charity. So if you do want to know more about the work we do, or you think we might be able to help you, then by all means get in touch via one of those avenues. But thank you very much for joining us today, and we hope you found it interesting. Thank you.